The leaves rustled. The wind howled. The street lights flickered. Bob walked down hurriedly. He looked to his left and right. He could only see the dark bushes swaying in the wind, throwing weird shadows on the street. Suddenly, he felt the hair on his neck tingle, the way you feel when someone is watching you. A chill ran down his spine. He looked back, nothing. Just when he was turning to look ahead, he saw something. He saw a strange pair of eyes watching him from the corner of his eyes. He thought they were yellow, tinged with red flecks in them. He shivered as a cold breeze went through him. He ran a bit, but soon was huffing and puffing and had to stop. He found it hard to go forward. He turned around to check. Right behind him stood a man with crooked brown teeth, a long crooked nose with warts on it, and yellow eyes that were bloodshot. Bob froze and stuttered. Who, who are you? Laughed the man, just lifting his hand to touch Bob's shoulder. Bob squeezed his eyes shut and let out an ear-shattering scream. Ah! There was a ruffle. Whoosh! The wind zoomed past. Bob slowly opened his eyes and there was silence. The street light had completely turned off. He saw nothing but darkness. Is your heart pounding? Bob's was too. Mine sure is. Keep a lookout when you walk dark alleys. You never know what is lurking in the corners. Well, if that gave you the chills, then there are more thrills in store for you. Welcome to Mumbai Storytellers Society's Halloween special, Chills and Thrills. I, along with my co-host Shalini Bajaj Surve, invite you to a spine-tingling session of stories that give you the creeps. Handing over to my partner in crime to take you deeper into the land of goblins, witches, ghosts, spooks, demons, vampires, and such strange beings. Shalini, over to you.
It is that night of the year when the ghosts, the spirits, when the witches, the demons, and the magicians celebrate. But I am a good witch, and I am going to prepare a cauldron of wonderful, scary, some funny stories for all of you today in Mumbai Storytellers Society's Chills and Thrills. And coming up first, to add her story into our cauldron of stories which will bubble and simmer, is Anuradha Rora. Anuradha is a corporate coach, an educator, a performing arts trainer, theater artist, certified storyteller, and the co-founder of I Express Academy. She has trained, not eaten, thousands of children and teachers across India and internationally. She's also certified listening hour guide by Jonathan Fox, has worked for Zubin Driver Theatre, is associated with the British Council Library for Speech and Drama, and registered with Trinity College of London. She believes in sharing her joy of spreading stories and training kids in applied theatre and drama, thereby nurturing young minds and adults. We will now take you into the scary world of stories with Anuradha.
The light from the mirror cast shadows of black. And when I stared at those shadows stared back. The walls have ears and the mirrors have eyes. And they whisper to the spider and they laugh at the fly, saying, one will live and one will die. With screams and shouts like pouring rain that comes from a place of a roaring pain. But the walls have ears and the mirrors have eyes. And whether you're the spider or the fly, one will live when the one will. And as the light from the mirror casts shadows from the black, I smiled at the shadows, and the shadows looked back, smiled back. What do you want? Trick or treat? What do you want? Trick or treat? John was a little boy, and like every other boy, he was very excited for Halloween. And he really wanted some trick or treat, and he definitely wanted some treats. But uh, where was he? He couldn't recognize. Where was he? This was he had no idea. This was not his house. This was not his place. His heart was racing, and all he could hear in the background was run, run, run. And he ran on the cobblestone street. Was he dreaming? Was he awake? Was all this really happening? Or was it just a nightmare? He wasn't sure. The night was pitch dark. The only light was coming from the street lamps which illuminated the deserted and unfamiliar street. He didn't recognize any of this. He didn't know where he was. He was perplexed. He was confused. But he kept running. The noise kept coming. Run, run, run. He didn't remember where he had come from, and he had no idea where he was going to go. He just knew he had to run. Something was after him, something horrible, something unthinkable, something which was going to catch him. If this was a dream, why couldn't he wake up? If this wasn't a dream, then where was he? How did he get here? How was the night so dark, so dangerously dark, as if there was a gloomy secret kept somewhere? The time was still like in total amnesia. What am I doing here? He thought. Who am I? What am I doing here? My head, his head was swirling. He couldn't see anything clearly. All he knew, he had to run, run, run. He ran. And as he was running, run, run, run. He could hear all weird noises, the wind gushing. Shh. He turned to a corner. Ah, at last, he saw a man standing there. He ran to the man and asked for help. As soon as he touched the man, my, He had razor sharp teeth like shark, and the teeth started becoming longer and longer and longer, and he smiled wider and wider and wider. And John ran, and he ran, and he ran. The little boy ran. He couldn't look behind, and he kept running in the dark. And he took another turn. The night was cool, dead, black, like the eyes of that stranger. As soon as he took another turn, he saw a policeman. He took a sigh of relief. A policeman is going to help me. He called for the policeman, and the policeman looked at him. How can I help you? And the teeth started becoming longer and longer and longer and sharp like sharp, exactly like the way that stranger was. The policeman started smiling wider and wider and wider. You need help? And the little boy ran as fast as he could. He didn't know whom to trust, and he kept running. He reached a ground, an open ground, and that open ground looked familiar. Is this the place where he plays every day? Oh, on the top of the hill, he could see his house. He didn't look behind. He kept running and running and running, and he reached his house, and zoop, he was on his bed. On his comfortable bed, on his pillow, he had a duvet upon him. His head was still swirling. He couldn't understand what was happening. What was all of that? And he could see his mom and dad standing right beside him. He looked at them and said, Mom, Dad, I don't know. Was it a nightmare? I don't know what was happening to me. Mom and Dad both looked at him, smiled, grinned wider and wider and wider, and the razor sharp teeth came out sharper, sharper like shark, and they said, You need help, our child? Thank you.
Ah, that's amazing.
That was my story. It has been taken from, it's an adaptation. This story is a part of In a Dark, Dark Room. I've just tweaked it a little bit here and there.
Wonderful. Thank you
Thank
so
you,
much,
everybody.
Radha. Yeah. Shalini, where is this? Oh, so the first story in the cauldron is as thrilling and chilling as the first initial introductory story. Yes, Shalini.
My cauldron now has teeth. Scary one of those. The ones that can grow on kids, on parents, and give you nightmares. So make sure to brush your teeth before you go to bed. You never know what's going to come in your dreams. Our next storyteller who will add to my cauldron of stories is Shilpa Mehta. She's an educator, author, freelance editor, and translator by profession. She's a self-motivated, passionate storyteller by choice. She has authored academic books for children. Her woven tales have found their way in various anthologies, both in print and in e-magazines. She has been a featured storyteller at various storytelling festivals, including Feast and also story swap programs. She believes stories, even those scary ones, are an excellent way to connect with people quickly. She believes stories can educate and entertain, but they can also heal, motivate, and do wonders to the mind and soul. Being a story enthusiast, she tells stories through her YouTube channel, Shilpa Story Rack, and she hopes to continue spreading smiles and chills through stories in the years to come. Over to you, Shilpa.
Hello, everyone. October is the Halloween month when ghosts and ghosts roam around and for the spooky tales to be told in the dark. So, are you ready for another one? My story is A Candle in the Window by Andrea Kazmarek. Lily, Libby, Scarlett, and George begged to finish trick-or-treating on their own in their street. Lily, the green witch with spiders and a pointy hat. Libby, the vampire with scary teeth and a blood-red cape. Scarlet the pumpkin, her face bright orange, and George the white creepy ghost with a ribbed bed sheet. Mom said yes. All the neighbors wanted to see their costumes, and most of them had plenty of treats. Just our neighbors in our street, though. I'll get the hot dogs ready, so don't be too long, Mom said. And all the four children went off to see what their neighbors had ready for them. The last house was Mrs. Sims, and she had plenty for them. As they left, George looked along to the end of their road. Why not try the old house at the edge of the wood? It's creepy enough for Halloween. Oh, it's a waste of time. Nobody lives there. It has been empty for years. Libby shook her vampire head. Ghostly George didn't give up. But tonight, I can see a light in the front window. Maybe somebody moved in. The four children all looked down the road to the big, dark, old house just outside the little wood at the end of their road. Lily squinted. Yes, there is a light in the window. Okay, George, we will give the new people a little Halloween welcome to our street. Why did they feel a bit nervous? As they opened the old iron gate, the gate creaked, and they almost turned back. Sure enough, there was a light, a candle in a dirty jam jar. Just moved it. Just moved in. Maybe the electricity isn't working on, Scarlett said. The four trick-or-treaters stood close together at the front door. There was no bell, just a rusty old knocker covered in spider webs. Lily knocked. The sound was hollow and scary. A face appeared at the window. A thin lady with straggly white hair. Happy Halloween! The children mumbled in the voices that now were no longer so sure that this was a good idea. But the old lady gave a crooked smile and asked, "Who are you? Tell me your names." The children told their names, wishing the old lady a happy Halloween. All they wanted to do was to run. apart from the pale yellow candle in the window. All around was pitch black. The trees in the garden looked twisted and strange, and the house even older and more broken down than it seemed from the street. I have something for you, children. I have so many apple trees in my garden. So today I picked up a basket full of best and freshest apples. I hoped some children might come to visit me. Thank you. Thank you very much. Libby managed to squeak. She just wanted to grab that basket and run. We will bring back the basket, we promise, George added. But the other three glared at him. Lily spotted the basket quite near her feet on the stone doorstep where they had just knocked. She hadn't noticed it before. She mumbled as she picked up the basket of apples, and the four children turned and ran for the gate. Only George turned around for a moment, and the house was dark again. The candle had gone out. Back home, Lily quickly dumped the basket of apples on the table, and the children went to the counter for the delicious smelling hot dogs. I hope you got plenty of treats, Mom smiled. Oh, loads, Scarlett grinned. And the old lady in the big house at the end of the road gave us a basket of apples, George told her. Huh? But nobody lives in that old house. It has been empty for years. Mom was surprised. The next morning, Mom called the children for the breakfast. What on earth were you thinking leaving that basket of apples on the table? Why? Lily was confused. Those apples are rotten and full of worms. The basket crumbles as soon as you even touch it. It's so old. But it wasn't like that last night, frowned George. The apples look fresh, red, and oh. And he stared at the basket. The apples were brown and rotting, moldy with worms all over, flies buzzing. They sting! Libby held her nose. In the bin! Throw it away! Mom said. How did it happen? Last night they seemed okay, Scarlett wondered. George couldn't let it go. I have to find out. He walked to the end of the road. The big sign said, "Keep out, dangerous building." A man with a yellow hard hat leaned over the fence. That sign has been there for weeks. Those walls are dangerous. Those stones are unsafe. And what about the old lady who lives here? George asked. Oh, nobody lives here, little boy. We are here to chop down all those old, bent, and broken old apple trees. They are dangerous and rotten too. You won't find any apples in this garden. The man picked up his electric saw and switched it on with a buzz. George sniffed and wondered why he could smell the sweet, fruity smell of fresh apples. Keep guessing. Keep guessing. keep guessing. Thank you.
Ooh, that was scary indeed. Well, that tells you never talk to strangers, isn't it? You never know how things can turn around. So, thank you very much, Shilpa, for that wonderful, wonderful story.
Thank you.
Shalini. Shalini?
My cauldron now, dear Hema, has rotten, stinky apples.
You.
Smells with the fear of those 4 children who got fooled and thought that they were fresh apples. Look at this cauldron simmer and bubble. What's coming up next? Let's find out with our next storyteller, who is Manisha Pise. Manisha is a story educator by passion and an explorer by heart. Yes, she explores dark alleys too. She uses story pedagogy to make learning interesting and fun. She also loves to curate life skill enhancement programs with a blend of storytelling tools. Through a heart to heart talk or a chat or gappa as it is known in Marathi, Manisha connects with children to understand their thoughts. This is the crux of her venture, Gappa Stories and More. She works towards fostering a community of young readers through a readers club. The club's activities are aimed at empowering kids to be self-motivated, empathetic, and expressive individuals. And brave too, we hope, Manisha. She also enables kids to brainstorm, plan, and write their thoughts about varied topics through a children's magazine by kids, for kids. Tasty, yummy kids. Her workshop aims to fuel curious minds with imagination and motivates them to doodle a tale or pen a poem. She conducts story sessions amidst nature to nurture the love of nature and value-based thinking. And if that's not all, another cap that Manisha wears facilitates curation of financial literacy workshops for kids and women. The sound of money. I would like to add that to my cauldron. Over to you, Manisha.
Thank you, Shalini. And I welcome you all to listen to my narration of The Laughing Skull, which is written by Ruskin Bond. I'll be narrating the story in the first person. It was a time when my nephew Anil was living with me in my cottage on the outskirts of Mussoorie, surrounded by the Himalayan oak trees and the maple trees, and one could easily listen to birds chirping and singing along. Now, let me tell you, Anil was a second year medical student and always had a prank sleeve. Yes, So it was one day when he suddenly entered the cottage from the medical school and started to rap a song. मेरी खोपड़ी में मेरी खोपड़ी में मेरे skull में मेरे skull में 8 cranial and 14 facial bones. Oh, मेरे skull में मेरे skull में. By the time I could gauge his lyrics, he suddenly hopped on, opened his bag excitedly, and there he handed me a well preserved skull. Yes, although I'm never bothered about skeletons. You see, after all, they are what? Chalky pieces of some long dead. I wasn't scared. But then, knowing the impish nature of Anil, I immediately inquired if he had stolen it from the medical campus. To which he modestly replied, no, no, I had taken it or rather borrowed it for vacation to study more about the skull. Ah, I didn't bother about it and got back to my chores. And Anil, he rubbed the skull and placed it right in the center of the mantelpiece in the living room. After dinner, as usual, I sat down with a pen, a diary, and a drink. As I was enjoying it and I was thinking what to write, I suddenly gazed that skull, which was sitting in the center of the mantelpiece, was staring at me. No. It was watching intently towards me with its empty socket eyes and a toothed grin. At first, I thought it was the drink, but then it continued as days passed. Ugh, how I wish Anil went to his vacation and took the skull back. And he did, he did fly to meet it on vacation, but he completely forgot about the skull, and that skull, it still remained in the center of the mantelpiece, staring at me every evening with the empty eye sockets and a toothed grin. Although that skull did not get enough admiration from me, I had a lot of visitors during the day. Sometimes writers, at times neighbors, sometimes teachers. And they did not fail to notice the skull. Some of the female teachers were quite scared, but others were quite intrigued and wanted to know, who that skull was. And one of the visitors even wanted to buy the skull from me. But how could I sell it? Anil would need it. Now I was getting irritated by that attention seeking skull. And I finally decided that I'm going to lock it up. Yes. So I took the skull and opened the cupboard. I placed the skull inside among my books and other stationery. I locked it up and went back on my armchair. That evening, I enjoyed the birds chirping and I sipped my wine and I finished writing my article. A zephyr of wind moved silently, and I had the happiest and peaceful night that day. While everything seemed tranquil and I was enjoying my sleep, suddenly I woke up to a rattle in the middle of the night. At first, I thought it could be a window shattering in the wind. But then I realized that the sound was coming from the cupboard. I was brave enough. I thought it could be a rat. So I got up. I went near the cupboard. I unlocked it, and I opened the door and popped out the skull, laughing. And it bounced back into the center of the mantelpiece in the living room, as if it was missing all the attention it was getting by my visitors. The skull was getting on my nerves. The next morning, I woke up early and I decided I had to do something about it. So I grabbed the skull, I packed it in plastic, and I put a lot of sellotape on it. And then I packed it in a cardboard box. I again packed it in gift wrapping paper, sealed it tightly, and I put an address of Anil and went to the post office. I gave the parcel to the registered clerk. And finally, I breathed a sigh of relief. I wanted to treat myself as I had gotten rid of the skull, so I had some fish, chips, and an ice cream. And while I was enjoying my way back home down the steep hill, I again heard something rattling down the hill behind me. Enjoying my ice cream, I just looked behind to see that wretched skull with bits of paper and sellotape was following me. I screamed and started to and I dashed open the cottage door, only to find that the skull was sitting right in the center of the mantelpiece again, staring at me. Months passed and this continued. But one day, when I was sitting in the garden sipping a cup of coffee, suddenly a football bounced down the slide. There were many schools around in the hills which played football, and nobody came to retrieve the football. That is when I had an idea. I took a knife, I cut open the football. I took the skull and stuffed it in the football, and I taped it nicely. Then I got the football delivered to the school coach. Alas, the skull was gone and I was enjoying my moment. Days passed, weeks passed, even months passed without the skull making a reappearance. But then something strange began to happen. I found myself missing that troublesome skull. Yes, it had been a company for me, a lonely writer living in the edge of a forest for over a year now. And I was missing the skull. Without it, my life seemed so empty. So one day I went to the market and I was having a stroll when I saw a fortune teller and there was a skull besides him. The fortune teller was mumbling something into the skull's ears and he was taking a slip out of prediction and giving it to his customers. To have a closer look at the skull, I also asked the fortune teller to predict something about myself. So the fortune teller mumbled something into the skull's ear and he took the slip out. And did you know what the slip of paper had written on it? Can you read? It said, Ullu ka patta, gadhe ka bachcha. As soon as I read it, I couldn't stop laughing, for only an old friend could abuse me like that. So I pleaded and haggled the fortune teller and bought the skull for 100 rupees. And then I went back to my cottage singing, Ye dosti hum nahi chodenge, chodenge dam magar तेरा साथ ना छोड़ेंगे. Thank you.
Oh my God, that was indeed such a funny, funny, funny story. It gave you the creeps, and then, yes, it ended up with such a wonderful laugh.
I
Thank
think
you.
all thanks to Ruskin Bond for writing such a wonderful story, Hima. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Manisha, for sharing this wonderful story with us. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
The cauldron has laughter now, but don't forget, it also has that friendly skull. And skulls and bones, oh, they make the potion tastier, healthier, and we witches love it. We now need to add one more ingredient and make our potion for Halloween complete. Let's see who we have next and what are they going to add to our cauldron. Our next storyteller is Asha Singh Gaur. She's an author, a poet, and of course, a storyteller. Asha is a Mumbai based author. She's passionate about poetry and storytelling and is an artist at heart. I wonder what she makes as an artist. Bleeding hearts, maybe. She works as a freelance copywriter, proofreader, and translator. She has translated a novel, stories, and various comic books from English to Hindi and Hindi to English. The manuscript of her poetry book was awarded the Most Promising Young Poetess Award in 2015. She got this book published then under the name Surk Lal Barfi. Lal, what a color! She did this in the year 2021, for which she received the Poet of the Year award from Ukiyoto Publishing. Her writing is inspired by nature, the people around her, life, and spirituality. Oh, spirits and ghosts, I hope. Asha enjoys reciting poetry and telling stories. And to know more about her, you can follow her on her Instagram page at Word Mantra. Over to you, Asha, and let's see what you would be adding to our cauldron of bubbling stories.
Thank you so much, Shalini. आज की कहानी का नाम है द डांस कॉम्पिटिशन. गुड्डू एक 7 साल का बच्चा था. गुड्डू अपनी दीदी निशु से बहुत प्यार करता था. दोनों पहाड़ों में रहती थी अपनी मम्मी पापा के साथ, और उनके मम्मी पापा थे टीचर्स. निशु को पढ़ने का बहुत शौक था. वो कहानियां पढ़ती और रात को गुड्डू को सुनाती. गुड्डू को नींद नहीं आती थी. जैसे ही कमरे की बत्तियां बुझती थी, हर कोने से अंधेरा उसको घूरने लगता था और गुड्डू डर के मारे अपनी आंखें बंद कर लेता था. निशु जानती थी कि गुड्डू को अंधेरों से डर लगता है. हर रात निशु गुड्डू को एक कहानी सुनाती और कहानी सुनते सुनते गुड्डू सो जाता. और जैसे ही गुड्डू सो जाता, निशु उसके पास से उतर के अपने बेड पे जाके सो जाता. ऐसे ही चलता रहा. निशु ने कभी कभी धीरे धीरे अपनी कहानियों के माध्यम से कोशिश की कि गुड्डू का डर दूर भाग जाए, पर गुड्डू बहुत छोटा था. उसे अब तक अंधेरों का ज्ञान नहीं था. जैसे ही बत्तियां बुझती, वो सिहर जाता और यहाँ वहां निशु को ढूंढने लगता. अब आया गुड्डू के बर्थडे का दिन। गुड्डू बहुत खुश था, बहुत। मम्मी डैडी ने बहुत सारे दोस्तों को बुलाया था। गुड्डू के दोस्त, मीशू के दोस्त, कुछ मम्मी पापा के दोस्त, और सब इंतजार कर रहे थे केक कटने का। लेकिन केक कैसे कटता? कैंडल तो थी नहीं, कैंडल भी तो बुझानी थी ना। तो मम्मी ने मीशू को केक के लिए कैंडल्स लेने भेज दिया। नीशू ने अपनी साइकिल उठाई और वो कैंडल्स लेने चली गई। पहाड़ी रास्ता था, शाम ढलने लगी थी। निशु जल्दी जल्दी दुकान गई, उसने कैंडल्स ली और वो जल्दी वापस भी आ रही थी। निशु को पता था कि पार्टी उसके लिए रुकी हुई है, कैंडल्स की जरूरत है, तो वो बहुत तेजी से साइकिल चला रही थी। लेकिन तभी तेजी से साइकिल चलाते चलाते एक बीच में पत्थर आया और पत्थर से टकरा के उसका बैलेंस बिगड़ गया और निशु धड़ाम से सड़क के किनारे एक गड्ढे में गिर गई। अब निशु क्या करती? वो गड्ढे में गिरी और साइकिल उसके ऊपर गिर गई। ये तो अच्छा हुआ कि आगे आगे से आने वाले एक इंसान ने उसे देख लिया और उसने जल्दी से निशु के ऊपर से साइकिल हटाई और फिर उससे घर का पता पूछा और एक और आदमी की मदद से उसे जैसे तैसे आराम से घर ले गए। घर ले जाने के बाद पता चला कि निशु के पैर में बहुत चोट आई थी, वो चल नहीं पा रही थी, उसे बहुत दर्द हो रहा था। गुड्डू को निशु को देख के बहुत दुख हुआ, उसकी प्यारी दीदी बहुत दर्द में थी। अब हुआ ऐसा कि घर में तो पार्टी चल रही थी, तो पार्टी छोड़ के कैसे जाता, इसलिए गुड्डू को घर में ही रहना पड़ा और गुड्डू के साथ उसकी मम्मी भी घर पे ही थी और निशु को लेकर उसके डैडी उसी समय अस्पताल चले गए। अस्पताल में पता चला कि निशु के पैर में फ्रैक्चर हो गया है। फ्रैक्चर? तो उसे एडमिट करना पड़ा। राहत बहुत ज्यादा हो गई थी, रास्ता पहाड़ी था, इसलिए निशु को एक रात के लिए वहीं एडमिट कर दिया गया। निशु भी ज्यादा बड़ी नहीं थी, अगर गुड्डू 7 साल का था, निशु बस 10 साल की थी, इसलिए निशु के डैडी उसके साथ ही रुक गए और घर पे मम्मी ने गुड्डू और उसके दोस्तों को अच्छे से संभाल लिया। केक के ऊपर कैंडल लगी, कैंडल को फूंक के गुड्डू ने केक काटा, सब में बांटा, पार्टी भी हुई। लेकिन गुड्डू का मन नहीं कर रहा था, उसकी प्यारी दीदी को चोट लगी थी, वो हॉस्पिटल में थी, वो पार्टी कैसे एंजॉय करता। तो उसने सिर्फ एक ड्रिंक लिया, छोटा सा रसना, उसे बहुत पसंद था, ऑरेंज जूस, और बस वैसे ही बैठा रहा। उसने केक भी नहीं खाया। 8, 8:30 बजे पार्टी खत्म हो गई और सब लोग अपने अपने घर चले गए। अब अब अंधेरा हो गया था, गुड्डू को डर लगने लगा था। घर में निशु भी नहीं थी, अब वो क्या करता? पर उस रात गुड्डू के साथ उसकी मम्मी उसके रूम में सो गई। अब गुड्डू को ये तो पता था कि उसके साथ मम्मी है, लेकिन मम्मी को ये नहीं पता था कि गुड्डू अंधेरे से इतना डरता है। बहुत थकी हुई थी पार्टी की वजह से, इसलिए मम्मी सो गई, लेकिन गुड्डू को नींद नहीं आई। उसकी निशु दीदी उसके पास नहीं थी, उसने आज कहानी भी नहीं सुनी थी, उसे नींद नहीं आ रही थी और कमरे की बत्तियां बुझ चुकी थी। गुड्डू ने अपना चेहरा चादर के अंदर ढक के रखा था और वो कांप रहा था, डर लग रहा था। उसे लग रहा था हर कोने से, हर एक अंधेरा, सारी परछाइयां उसे घूर रही हैं। और तभी जब वो चाहता था कि वो छुपे रहे, किसी परछाई को ना दिखे, गुड्डू को सुसु आ गया। अब वो क्या करता? मम्मी सो रही थी, कमरे में अंधेरा था और निशु दीदी भी उसके साथ नहीं थी। क्या करता गुड्डू? गुड्डू ने धीरे से अपनी आंखों से चादर उठाई और जैसे ही उसने चद्दर हटाई, वो वहां सामने दरवाजे के पास अंधेरे में दो आंखें चमक रही थी, बल्ब की तरह। घुटू ने डर के फिर से अपना चेहरा छुपा लिया जोर से, लेकिन उसे जाना तो था। उसने फिर से हिम्मत करके चादर हटाई, लेकिन इस बार जब उसने चादर हटाई तो वो आंखें उसके सामने थी, सामने। और उसका चेहरा बहुत डरावना था, और उसके आड़े टेढ़े काले हाथ, जिसमें लंबे लंबे नाखून। गुड्डू की तरफ अपने हाथ बढ़ाए, बोला, गुड्डू। गुड्डू डर गया, कांपने लगा। उसने बोला, मैं नहीं जाऊंगा, मैं नहीं जाऊंगा। निशु दीदी ने कहा कि तुम परछाइयों से दूर रहना चाहिए, मैं नहीं जाऊंगा, तुम झूठ हो। परछाई, झूठ? तो मैं क्या हूँ? मेरे साथ चलो गुड्डू। गुड्डू ने फिर हिम्मत की, तो मैं नहीं जाऊंगा, मैं नहीं जाऊंगा। निशु दीदी ने मना किया, तुम झूठ हो, तुम नहीं हो, तुम नहीं हो। परछाई, अगर तुम मेरे साथ नहीं चले तो मैं तुम्हारी माँ को ले जाऊंगा। गुड्डू बहुत डर गया। गुड्डू ने कहा, नहीं, वो मेरी माँ है, तुम नहीं ले जा सकते, मेरी माँ को नहीं ले जा सकते, तुम मुझे भी नहीं ले जा सकते। अच्छा, मैं तुम दोनों को ले जा सकता हूँ अभी। बहुत ताकत है मेरे पास, बहुत। तुम्हारी नीशु दीदी झूठ कहती, मैं तुम्हें ले जा सकता हूँ, तुम्हें मेरे साथ चलना होगा। गुड्डू ने कहा, नहीं, मैं नहीं जाऊंगा, तुम झूठ कहते, तुम्हारे अंदर कोई ताकत नहीं है। नीशु दीदी ने ऐसे ही कहा था। गुड्डू डर रहा था, कांप रहा था, लेकिन फिर भी अपने डर से बहुत कोशिश कर रहा था लड़ने की। उसे समझ नहीं आ रहा था उसने क्या करना चाहिए। लेकिन फिर गुड्डू ने एक बात सोची। उसने बोला, तुमने तुमने बोला तुम ताकतवर हो। हाँ, बहुत ताकतवर हो, बहुत ज्यादा। तो गुड्डू ने कहा, अच्छा, इतने ताकतवर हो, तुम मुझे हरा के दिखाओ। हाँ, तुम्हें, गुड्डू, तो मैं चुटकी बजा के हरा दूंगा। तुम तो छोटे से हो, छोटे से, और तुम मुझसे डरते हो। देखो कितना डरते हो तुम मुझसे, खा जाऊंगा। गुड्डू फिर से डरा। उसने बोला, नहीं, तुम्हें मुझे हराना पड़ेगा, और अगर तुम मुझे हरा दोगे तो मैं तुम्हारे साथ चला जाऊंगा, लेकिन तुम मेरी माँ को नहीं ले जा सकते। परछाई को लगा कि ये तो छोटा सा बच्चा है, ठीक है, बोलो क्या करना है, अभी हराता हूँ तुम्हें, और फिर तुम मेरे साथ चलोगे। गुड्डू ने डरते 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 बोला, तुम्हें नाचना आता है? मुझे सब आता है, पर परछाइयां नाचती नहीं है गुड्डू। खा जा। तुमने बोला था तुम मुझे हरा दोगे, अगर तुम्हें इतनी ताकत है तो मुझे हरा के दिखाओ, डांस में हरा के दिखाओ। परछाई ने थोड़ा सोचा और फिर बोला, ठीक है, बताओ क्या करना है, मेरे पास टाइम नहीं है, मैं तुम्हें हरा दूंगा। और फिर तुम्हें यहाँ से ले जाऊंगा। गुड्डू ने जल्दी से जाकर कांपते कांपते अपना टेप रिकॉर्डर देखा और फिर उसमें गाना लगाया। गाना लगाने के बाद गुड्डू ने गाना चला दिया और गाना चलाने के बाद गुड्डू इधर उधर हिलने लगा। जैसे उसकी नीशू दी ने उसे बताया था, वो कांपता रहा और नाचता रहा, कांपता रहा और नाचता रहा। और परछाई परछाई पता नहीं क्या कर रही थी।
ऐसे कोई प्रेजेंट कर रहा है तो बीच में डिस्कनेक्ट करना अच्छा नहीं लगता। इट इज नॉट रिस्पेक्टफुल।
परछाई भी धीरे 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 गाने पे नाचने लगी। गुड्डू भी नाचने लगा। गुड्डू अभी भी डर रहा था, उसे पता था परछाई किसी भी वक्त उसको यहाँ से लेके चली जाएगी, और उसने अपने डर को संभाले रखा। उसने फिर धीरे 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 धीरे, जैसे ही उसने देखा कि परछाई का पूरा ध्यान डांस में है, पूरा ध्यान गाने में है, तो उसने धीरे से जाके बत्तियां जला दी। और जैसे ही उसने बत्तियां जलाई, सारा रूम लाइट से जगमगा उठा। परछाई के काले कोने गुम हो गए और परछाई भी छू गुम हो गई और जाते जाते चिल्लाने लगी, नहीं, लाइट ऑफ करो, गुड्डू तुमने मुझे धोखा दिया है। उसकी ये आवाज सुन के गुड्डू के अंदर इतनी हिम्मत आ गई कि उसने कहा, तुमने तो कहा था तुम मुझे हरा दोगे, लेकिन तुम मुझे नहीं हरा पाए। अभी तुम ना मुझे ले जा पाओगे, ना ही मेरी माँ को ले जा पाओगे। टाटा। छू। और परछाई डर के भाग गई। आ! और गुड्डू ने कहा, दोबारा कभी मेरे घर पे मत आना। और उस दिन के बाद गुड्डू कभी अंधेरों से नहीं डरा, कभी काले कोनों से नहीं डरा। उसे पता था कि वो परछाइयां उसका डर है। परछाइयां परछाइयों के हाथ नहीं होते, उनके नाखून नहीं होते। और जब नीशू दीदी वापस आई तो उसने कहानी सुनाई अपनी नीशू दीदी को कि उसने कैसे परछाइयों को भगा। थैंक यू।
Thank you so much, Asha. This was amazing. This is a wonderful story. और बस परछाइयां से डरना, डर क्या बात है? All these things are just the fear fed. जो डर लगता है उसको हम फीड करते रहते हैं, फीड करते रहते हैं, वो डर बड़ा 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 होते जाता है. And then one fine day we feel that, oh, the fear is overtaking us. So that's exactly what happened in this story. Thank you so much, Asha, to
थैंक यू एवा।
teach a lesson through this, that you shouldn't let your fears get better of you. Thank you so much.
थैंक यू एवा।
Okay, so going ahead now, let us look at the audience and see if anybody has to say anything for with regards to the stories that we just listened. Yeah. Let's just come on, all of you, let's switch on our videos and come back. And yes. So, would anybody in the audience like to share a small little story? Yes. Oh, wow. Fire. Okay, switch on. Yeah. You would like
Happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween, dear.
हैप्पी हैलोवीन।
Happy Halloween.
Would you like to share a small little story?
Yes.
Go ahead.
एक लड़का था, उसका नाम गप्पू था। तो फिर उसकी बहन का नाम हील था। तो फिर हील नहीं डरती थी अंधेरे से, लेकिन गप्पू बहुत डरता था। फिर उसकी बहन गाँव घूमने गई थी और गप्पू उसकी मम्मा के साथ था। तो फिर वो तो गया था, रात हो गई थी, बहुत अंधेरा था। तो फिर कोई आंटी आई उसके सामने कैंडल लेके, उसकी परछाई देख के वो डर गया। फिर उसने कहा कौन हो तुम? तो फिर कहा मैं भूत हूँ। तो फिर वो बहुत डर गया, उसको जोर से चिल्लाया हाँ। फिर वो बहुत ही डर गया था। तो फिर उसको मम्मा तो गई थी उसकी, तो फिर उसको नहीं उठाया। तो फिर उसको सामना किया उसका, फिर उसको हिम्मत दिखा के उसका सामना किया। फिर वो उसको फाइट करने गया। फिर उसको बोला कि तुमको मुझसे फाइट करनी होगी, तो फिर मैं आऊंगा तुम्हारे साथ। फिर उसको बोला परछाई को कि हाँ, लेकिन वो डर रहा था परछाई की, मुझे फाइट आती ही नहीं है, तो मैं कैसे कर लूं। फिर गप्पू तो फाइट करने लग गया। गप्पू फिर जीत गया।
ऑसम, सो ब्यूटीफुल। आपका नाम क्या है बच्चा? बोलो आपका नाम।
नियन नियन
नियंत के नियंत, दैट वाज फैंटास्टिक। आपने आशा की स्टोरी को इतनी अच्छी तरह से अपनी स्टोरी बना दी उसमें। वेरी नाइस, सुपर, वेरी गुड।
He,
Very
he,
nice.
he's a very lovely, talented boy. You know, he's my friend's son. Thank you, Neil.
Oh.
थैंक यू।
वेरी नाइस।
कॉस्ट्यूम के डर को लेके वाओ, आप तो स्केलेटन, अब आपका खाली स्कल नहीं है। वो आप मनीषा आंटी को बोलो, इट्स गोइंग टू ग्लो इन द डार्क।
Yes, yes.
आपका स्केलेटन अंधेरे में हमें डराएगा।
Of course, we are waiting.
So there's one more little child who wants to share a story. She's just 6 years old. So I think quick, and then we end this session. Okay, a quick story and we end the session. Okay. Well, please say your
Yeah.
name, sweetheart, and just start. Yeah.
Start.
Sure, they can't see you properly. Your light.
Yeah.
Speak.
Yeah.
Hello everyone, my name is Isha Avintraman
Hmm.
and I'm 6 years old. Today I'm going to tell you a story about the witch and the rat.
Hmm.
Long, long ago, in the jungle, there lived a witch. It was actually an imaginary jungle. That's so the witch lived in the jungle many years ago. One day, a mouse came to her and said that, can you give me one of your recipes and I will give you back 100 rupees. So the witch was very angry but also didn't have any option. So she agreed to the offer. So she gave him one of her recipe books. Then what happened? The mouse ran to his house and started collecting 100 rupees. Then, after 4 days, he returned back with 100 rupees, not just 100 rupees, with 2 skins of lion and 3 throat and 3 bags of gold, which you can put the gold in the bag. So then what happened is the witch got angry. She was happy also because he gave her 100 rupees. But she was very angry also because he didn't give her because he just did not give her 100 rupees. He gave her back skin of a lion and all that also. So then she asked him, little mouse, I just gave you my recipe book so that you give me 100 rupees.
Yeah, we'll
Here,
see tomorrow, Ashok.
you have taken, you have
I'm not going to cook
taken
tomorrow.
the various things, lion skin and bags, 3 bags, and given it to me. So then the mouse said, I didn't want to give you any 100 rupees. I was saying like that so that you know that with these materials you can make any recipe. So she said, what? I'm not understanding. What are you saying? I give you a recipe book. You are saying you make recipes. So he said, basically, I'm trying to tell you that with these things you can make your own recipes. Like if you give me the recipe book, I might tell you something to make the recipe. And then you might make those things and tell me that those things are nice. So, so basically, teacher, the moral of the story is that whatever you do for others always comes back to you good.
Okay. Thank you so much, Isha. Thank you very much. Thank you for sharing that lovely story. Thanks a lot.
Isha,
So,
you must ask that mouse to give me also the recipe book from the witch.
so you can put it in
Want
your
that.
cauldron and
I'm
add
putting it in
more
my cauldron as well. Some new
Yes.
recipes.
Yes. So thank you very much for this wonderful, wonderful evening, for coming here and listening to all our storytellers. I love to thank you from Mumbai Storytellers Society for joining us in listening to all the stories and encouraging the tellers to tell their stories. And thank you, children, for sharing your lovely stories. So that's about it. So we come to the end of the session. Shalini, would you like to say something?
Thank you for the lovely, lovely stories. I have to add that last ingredient of fear and make my potion for not letting children get scared because we're good witches.
Yes.
A
Yes.
quick word, as most of you are aware, Mumbai Storytellers Society, we are a not-for-profit which was set up in 2019. And we're on a mission to rekindle and grow the traditional art of oral storytelling. We continuously try to come up with various events themed like this one. Both these events are both online and offline. All that we try to do is to further our mission and reach as many people as possible. We've also held an International Storytelling Festival in 2020. I hope you guys are aware about that. If not, and you didn't get a chance to attend that, the next Mumbai International Storytelling Festival called Gatha, in collaboration with Somaya Vidya Vihar University, will be conducted in 2023 on
February.
17th, 18th, and 19th of February. So we are waiting and we want to meet all of you. So mark your calendars for those dates. It's the 17th, 18th, and 19th of February for Gatha. More details will follow on the social media pages of both Gatha and Mumbai Storytellers Society. In the meantime, you can also check the website www.gmisf, which is Gatha Mumbai International Storytelling Festival.org. All that we are doing and our heartfelt gratitude to you so that along with us, you are also allowing us to celebrate stories, to spread the love for stories, and may the tribe of storytelling and stories keep growing. On that note, have a wonderful, scary, spooky weekend. 31st is Halloween, and happy Halloween from us.
Happy Halloween.